Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Urban Scope podcast. Today we have some exciting news for you. First, we'll be starting off talking about the WNBA. They released their schedule today. Well, this week they released their schedule, and there are a lot of different things to address with the schedule, but not only the schedule, but different things that are occurring this season that are brand new. So first, I want to start off with the 44 game schedule that's slated for this year. Typically, they play 40 games. This year, they have expanded to 44 games, which will be very exciting. But there's questions there as well as far as the attrition of the game. I'll get into that later. But also, I want to get into like a couple of open day matchups that'll be exciting to watch. So on opening night, there will be the Dallas Wings against the Minnesota Lynx. So most people believe the census pick for the draft this year is Paige Bueckers, who is projected to go to the Dallas Wings. The Dallas Wings have the first pick this year in the draft. So most people are projecting Paige Bueckers to get that first pick. To be the first pick in that draft. So they're slating her to go to the Dallas Wings. And the Wings will be playing the Minnesota Lynx, who are the runner-up champions to the New York Liberty from last year. So it'll be Paige Bueckers and Nafisha Collier in the headline matchup. A very exciting matchup, especially to start the season. I thought it was an interesting pick because I thought they would have put Caitlin Clark on that opening night, but she is playing that second night, which I'll get into right now. So the second night, they start off with a bang. So it's Chicago Sky against the Indiana Fever, which we get to see the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark rematch. I know a lot of people probably getting tired of that matchup, but that's their Magic Johnson, Larry Bird type matchup that they sell tickets off of and garner a lot of views. So that's a matchup that they want to start off right away with that one. I'm surprised that's not the opening night matchup. But like I said, they wanted to showcase, I guess, Paige Bueckers the first night against the defending champions. Interesting matchup, but nevertheless, it'll be an interesting one to watch. And also on that second night on March 17th, you have the Aces against the Liberty, which is a matchup from the championship from about 2 years ago. So you have not Angel Reese, but you have Asia Wilson against the defending champions. It's going to be a good one. You have Brianna Stewart playing. You have Jonquel Jones, and you have Sabrina Ionescu. It'll be slated full of stars that second night. I definitely will be tuned in on the second night on May 17th to watch all those matchups. But those are some of the matchups I'm excited to watch at the beginning. There's a lot of matchups throughout the seasons, of course, but for time constraints, I'll keep it down just to those 2 nights of activities or action that I look forward to. But also this week, tomorrow, the Golden State Valkyries, which is the expansion team, will be holding their expansion draft tomorrow. So it's kind of exciting. So from what I've read, they get to pick players off of each team, but each team, other than the Golden State Valkyries, can protect 6 players on their teams. So the other 6 or 8 players on their team are free game for them to draft or negotiate with, depending on their situation. So I've never seen an expansion draft live and in person. Most of the NBA teams were already established. Well, they all were established when I started watching, so I'll be able to see the expansion draft and see how that process works. It looks like it'll be very interesting and very unique to see. But in addition to that, we'll get used to those expansion drafts because next year, Toronto and the Portland will also have an expansion draft for their teams because they're new teams. And it's the first expansion draft actually since 2008 when Atlanta Dream did their expansion draft. So it's been 16 years since they expanded. So it's very exciting for the league to not only expand, but to grow because this is showing growth that they can add, 3 new teams in a matter of a couple of years. Patrick Mahomes also talked about possibly bringing WNBA to the Kansas City area, which I'm very excited about as well. Hopefully we can see that in the next 2 or 3 years. The league is growing. They're getting more fanfare. They're getting these key matchups, these celebrities, these marquee celebrities at the games. So it's going to be exciting to see where they can grow to. It's similar to the NBA. The NBA wasn't always this big league. They always had to compete with the NFL, which was always a fan favorite. NBA kind of grew into a global brand and was able to expand beyond imaginable what they envisioned when they first started up the league. So with this 44 game season, it's going to be interesting to see the attrition of the game. Most people say, oh, it's just 4 games, but 4 games is more wear and tear on the players, possibly more injuries and more people sitting out. So it's going to be a matter of who can stay healthy as any sport or any season goes. But these extra 4 games, it's going to be interesting to see how people adjust to it, how people adapt to the new situations, because unfortunately the WNBA doesn't have the same resources as the NBA or NFL. And those players still stay hurt as well, even though they have access to all of this different trainings and all these different programs to keep their bodies more in shape and more healthy throughout the season. So with the WNBA lacking resources, it's going to be interesting to see if people can stay more healthy. And you'll probably get to see more players that you wouldn't see before get showcased, as similar as we did last year, especially with the Chicago Sky. Players were just dropped in left and right. I know Angel Reese had the surgery toward the end of the year. She missed the last 5 games. So you got to see players that you didn't usually get a chance to see. And unlike the NBA, there is more parity in the WNBA with more talent. So I don't think they'll drop off as much. You might have people, the casual fan, who might not, be more attracted to the game if one of their top players go out. But for the avid fan, or for the fan who understands the game, they'll understand that they'll get to see more players, and players who shined in college, get a chance they didn't usually get. So that 44 games is going to be very, very crucial to the health of players this year. And it's good. And I think it's an experiment to see if what they want to do, because if it turns out good this year, I think they might even add more games next year, because like I said, when you add more teams, you're going to have to possibly add more games. So with 2 new teams coming next year, they definitely going to have to expand the games to make it more interesting, especially for the playoff picture. And the playoffs should be more interesting this year too, because before they had 11 teams, so it was a lot easier to get in. Chicago Sky narrowly missed it. And I think if they had Angel Reese probably the last 5 games, they might have snuck in, but nevertheless they didn't get in. So it's going to be interesting with more teams to see how this playoff picture turns out. But there's a couple storylines for next year that I was thinking about. First one was, will Nafisha Collier take the next level and be able to get over the hump and win the championship? She was narrowly there last year. Very tight series, very interesting series. I love that series that they played. She showed her toughness and heart, and I think she should have been the MVP. So will she take that next leap next year and become that MVP that we know she can be? She did get defensive player of the year, which she's the closest thing in the WNBA to a Kawhi Leonard or Paul George back in the day. Her games remind me so much of Paul George. So hopefully she can get over the hump this year and be able to do it. Will the New York Liberty retain its title? Like I said, most players say, or someone said, that it's easy to win one championship, but can you go back to back? Can you win the championship when you have the target on your back? Because we know everybody who plays you is going to give you their best shot because they want to make a point. So can the New York Liberty sustain that hunger and continue to strive and win another championship? Will Caitlin Clark ascend this year, or will she hit that sophomore slump? That's a big question. She has a good team around her. Will the pieces around her stay the same, Will she continue to make those players better? Will she continue to hit those shots? She can improve on a 3-point shot. She can improve on her defense as well. But, she's a superstar in this league, and, she's still young. So she still has growing to do. And I'm pretty sure in this offseason, she's worked hard to maintain and ascend from what she did last year. Because I feel like at this point, she'll only get better. And let's hope she continues to do so. Same thing with Angel Reese. Will she continue to ascend, or will she regress to a sophomore slump? Now, with her, she needs to work on. She has the rebounding down pat. Of course, everyone can get better on defense. Will she get a post move? Will she be able to get a reliable jump shot? Those things will take her to the next level, and that's pretty much the only thing that she's missing from her game is just finding a steady way to get points. Her defense will come along as she matures in the game, but she definitely needs to work on the jump shot or work on some ways to get points, easy points in the paint. It seems like it's a struggle for her to score in the paint, and for someone of her magnitude, she can't have that deficit. Her team needs her scoring as well as her rebounding. So we'll keep an eye on the WNBA season. Like I said, opening night is May 16th. The expansion draft is tomorrow for the Golden State Valkyries. I'll be tuned in for that to see what players they get, how the pieces fit, and they still have 2 draft picks in the first round in the April's draft, I believe. So they're going to get some decent players, but to adjust to the league and adjust to the players that they have, it'll be different because all of these players will be from 12 different teams. From like 7, 8 different teams. In addition to that, they will have to draft a couple players. So they'll have a very young team and an experienced team working together who are all in, probably 12 different cities. So that's going to be a unique adjustment that doesn't happen every day. But we'll stay tuned to that, and we'll keep an eye on their season as well, on that WNBA season. So shifting gears a little bit, I read an article on Hip Hop DX in regards to Will Smith and his time on the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He talked about regrets he had on the show, feuding with the first Vivian. Her real name was Janet Hubert, and this was a public feud that started when he got on the show because Janet Hubert is an experienced actor who took acting classes, built their skin in the game, came along, and then they bring along Will Smith, who's a rapper who didn't have any acting experience and who had all this cachet because the show was named after him. He had all the perks of a celebrity, of a grade A or A plus list celebrity and actor, and somewhere they bumped heads. So we'll probably never know where the real tension lies from. But Will talked about at Vice's Black Comedy in America how he regretted feuding with her. She talked about her regrets from the show as well on the reunion show back in 2020 on HBO. She talked about, she confronted Will about her being removed from the show, and everyone feels it was because of Will. He didn't deny it either. She was let go of the show because, like I said, she was only on, I believe, the first season, and in the middle of the season, they just switched her out for another Vivian. So she talked about regrets on the show of working with Will, talking about he was able to continue with the show, but she was blackballed from the show because she had this stigma or this rumor around her that she was difficult to work with. And she said, as a black actress, being difficult to work with is a death blow to her career. And she really never did anything major after Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And other actresses talked about this as well, like Taraji P. Henson and Monique. They talked about having that stigma of being difficult to work with. Pretty much it depletes your career. No one wants to work with you again. It's very difficult to find work, and you're pretty much out of a job, so to speak. So, just to read a couple quotes that she said previously, back in I think 2011, she said, she would never work with Will again, and she called him an a-hole and said, she called him a privileged kid and who didn't deserve the opportunity that he had. And he said that she wanted the show to be the Unvivian of Bel Air. So he was he was just, he was immature at that time. Full context, this show aired in 1990. Will was 22 at the time, or about to turn 22. He was around 22 at that time. So he was very, as being at 22, our brains are not fully developed. We're kind of immature. We can all use work at any age, but uh, the regrets he has today is probably effect of, he's kind of been on like this apology tour, just dealing with after, post Chris Rock incident at the Oscars. He's been on this apology tour, not only with Janet Hubert, he's had regrets about things with his wife. He's had, he wanted to regret everything. Like he just talked about different things um, that he went through in life and how he was raised and the things that he went through. He spoke about this on LeBron's barbershop show, and he was talking about how he was raised tough from his dad and the things he saw growing up, and he always had this good boy image and he never wanted to lose it, and people took his kindness for weakness and things like that. So I believed on that show when Janet Hubert kind of addressed him, he kind of felt slighted, I believe. And back then, when those child stars had shows, most people was taking direction from someone half their age or 3 times younger than them. And this was evident on the Family Matters show with Jaleel White. He just released an autobiography, and he kind of talked about how people on the show resented him because he was a celebrity and he wasn't even intended to be the celebrity. The show was based around the family. But when they had his character, people, the audience gravitated towards Steve Urkel, which was Jaleel White's character. And unlike Will Smith, he seems to still be on this high horse about him being a show being the top person on the show, even though he didn't do anything after Family Matters. Will Smith has been very successful after Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and actually he became 10 times more successful, and he has these regrets and is remorseful. But unlike Jaleel White, seems to still think he's that celebrity, still thinks he's, this A+ actor or this A-list celebrity, when that passed in the 90s when that show ended. So, kudos to Will Smith for actually realizing his faults and realize that he hurt someone that he didn't want to hurt, especially after the Chris Rock incident. He became very remorseful, and I believe he got humbled after that incident to where he realized that life is short and that the things that he once cared about don't matter. And, being a good person and amending your wrongs is good. Because like they said, it's never too late to right the ship. It's never too late to do the right thing. And as a person who's getting older, coming towards the end of his career, I believe he knows that better than anyone. And he'll continue to kind of right his wrongs and realize the hurt that he's caused people and the hurt that he's been hurt from. So, like I said, we'll continue to see where he goes from here and the things that he regrets and his journey to redemption. So kudos to Will Smith once again for admitting that he hurt someone and that the things that he once worried about don't matter, and he had artificial power and artificial control that doesn't matter now, and now he's humble from that beginning that he had on the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So lastly, I'll start off with some music news. Congratulations to Glorilla, fellow Memphian. She was named hottest female rapper of the year by Billboard. She had a very good year this year in 2024. She was named hottest female of the year. And behind her, number 2 was Meg Thee Stallion. Number 3 was Nicki Minaj. Number 4 was Sexy Red, and 5 is Lotto. Her album Glorious, it peaked at number 2 on the U.S. rap chart and number 5 on U.S. Billboard. And she had around 77 million streams in the first week. I'm not sure what that's equivalent to in per sales, which no one really does. I think they're just pulling numbers out. But 77 million streams in the first week is amazing, especially for a female artist. They're not as promoted as much as the male artists, but this year specifically, I can say was the year of the female rapper, the female artist. They extended tremendously. I know Nicki dropped an album this year. I want to say Sexy Red dropped an album, and Lotto too, Meg as well. So I can speak specifically for the Glorious album that the Glorilla dropped. It was a very good listen. She had all the elements in the album. She had singing, songs about like love, and then she had these songs like hardcore rap songs. She had these songs from a female and male perspective, female perspective, going back and forth on the album. She had appearances or all these guest appearances on her rap album as well. So I think they covered all the bases, especially for a debut album. The album was pretty good. It was actually great, in my opinion. It was the best female artist album I heard this year. The song Procedure with Lotto was very good. She had the What You Know About Me song with Sexy Red that I liked as well. And then my favorite was Don't Deserve with Money Long. It's kind of like that female empowerment song that she had. So she had all the elements to a great album. And I couldn't think of anything that she left out of the album. She talked about her life, her growing up in Memphis as well. So she covered all the bases. There was nothing left out, no stone unturned, so to speak. And then in addition to that, she's been getting a lot of praise from different artists who's already been out in the game. And just to name a few, she received praise from Busta Rhymes. Sierra actually dressed up as her Glorilla on Halloween, and they had a back and forth on social media, just congratulating each other, giving each other kudos and stuff, going back and forth. Glorilla said she met Beyonce this year too, and Beyonce told her she was great, and they, traded, compliments to each other back and forth. So that was amazing that she got to meet her. And I know Glorilla's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so she was able to go to see Mike Tomlin, the head coach. She also sat down with George Pickens, the star receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and did an interview with him. So she's been all around the industry this year and made a name for herself. In addition, she had a couple of big key interviews, especially with Apple Music. She sat down with Ebro, which if you're a hip hop artist, that's huge to do. He's one of the best interviewers in hip hop, other than like a Sway or Joe Budden, people like that, academics, people like that. So, but her biggest interview probably was with Shannon Sharp on the Club Shay Shay podcast. She almost has 3 million views from that interview, and I believe it released like 8 months ago. So she was doing very good numbers on that as well. She's a very likable person. People rave about her accent. She's very humble, it seems. She's not too braggadocious. So people seem to resonate with her and her character and her skill set as well. Can't leave the skill set off because you got to still have the talent. Even though you're a likable person, people still want to see the talent, and you have to bring something to the table, which she does. So congratulations to her as well for being named the hottest female rap artist of the year by Billboard. And like I said, she's only 25 years old, and I think, in my opinion, she had the best year on her label, Yo Gotti's label. So Moneybagg Yo had a very good album this year too. But what Gorilla's been doing, she's been out doing appearances, making a name for herself, promoting, as well as she can do. And like I said, she's only 25, so let's hope that she can continue to ascend this direction and improve hip hop and improve her career to see where she can go, so she can get to that Nicki Minaj, Cardi B type level. That's all I have today for today's show. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for continuing to support the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like the content. And until next time, I'll see you next time.